How's it going, DIY? My name is Jonah, and today we're bringing you guys another keyboard video on the Wooting 60HE. This time we actually did a bit of an upgrade on it because honestly, whenever I got this keyboard out of the box and I started typing on it and using it, it was definitely more of a downgrade for me in terms of how it sounded from my custom keyboard that I built a few years back. I really bought this keyboard just for the fact that it was a competitive Hall effect keyboard. And I could honestly look past the Lekker switches that came with this keyboard out of the factory, because although they weren't that, great sounding, they did their job and they obviously had Hall effect functionality. So what all can you complain with the, stock configuration of the keyboard? I didn't realize how much better the aftermarket switches that even Wooting sells on their website, like the Jade switches, and then the ones that I bought today, which are the Geon L50 RAW switches. These things are awesome, and I went with the Geon switches just because Zach actually picked them up for his own Hall effect keyboard and ended up not needing them, so he sold them to me for even cheaper than the actual price on Wooting's website. And I said, might as well. I threw a few of them in and tried typing on it, and I really actually loved the difference from the stock Lekker switches. So this video is going to be a very quick, fast video of just the comparison between the stock Lekker switches from the Wooting and then the obviously new Geon L50 RAW switches. I'm not going to waste too much time for you guys today, but essentially $40 upgrade compared to like what you get in the base configuration. I think the $40 is honestly worth it, but we're gonna go straight to the typing test, and we're also gonna be going back and forth between both the typing test between the new switches and then of course the stock Lekker switches. So now that you guys have heard the difference between the stock Lekker switches and then the Geon RAW L50 switches, you can definitely tell, at least to my ear, that the Geon switches are much more creamy and a little more thockier as well compared to the Lekker switches, sounding a little more scratchy and a little more loose. And if you've ever typed on a Wooting 60HE in person yourself, you'll know that the typing experience isn't that amazing. And I think most people can kind of agree with that it's okay. It's nothing fantastic, but I think switching over to these new Geon switches are huge, and they definitely sound way better. A lot more stiff, like there's not as much stem wobble, and I will say the pressure that it requires to actually press down the key is a little higher. So in a sense of typing experience, I think it's much easier to type on with these actual switches, because every so often I'll end up like fat fingering a key on accident with those Lekker switches, and then it'll press the actuation down just a little bit, and of course with it being Hall effect, it'll activate the key, and I'll end up having to do a lot of corrections whenever I'm typing. It could just be a skill issue, but that was one thing that I noticed with my Lekker switches that I didn't really like that much, along with the sound. And these are definitely a huge improvement if you're just looking for a more cheap, affordable way to upgrade your Wooting keyboard, because that's really been my thing. I don't want to put too much money into my Wooting keyboard since they are pretty expensive out of the gate. However, I did want a nicer typing experience, and I think these switches did just that. So that's pretty much just gonna wrap up this video. Very, very quick and informative, short review on these new switches that I have on this keyboard. I definitely think this is definitely the number one thing you should definitely be doing in your Wooting keyboard if you wanted to get a bit of a nicer typing experience. I will say a case swap is definitely here in the cards for me in the near future. The plastic housing is okay, but I think that premium feel is going to definitely come out with the like an aluminum case. So this is definitely a fine keyboard for now, and I'm going to keep rocking this, especially with these new switches. So I'll leave a link to everything in the description down below if you want to check out the other options for Hall effect switches that Wooting has available on their website. But thank you for watching to the end if you all did, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.